Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to this video, guys. My name is Liaquat, and we are going through Mukhtasar al-Qudoori. Hanafi Fiqh for you guys, Thursday. And if you're watching on another day, then it's another day for you guys. So we are currently going through, we're almost midway through Kitab Shufa. And if you guys enjoy these lessons, please hit the like button, subscribe button, and share my videos with others as well. So let's crack on with this then. As usual, I explain the words. So let's have a look at these words then. So he says, tajuzu, you know what that means? It's permissible. Munaza'a, it means dispute. Okay, so dispute. Shuf'a, preemption. Ahdara, yuhdiru, ihdar. Okay, to present, to bring. Shafi, you know what that is? Thaman, the price. Majlis, in the sitting of the qadi. Ihdar, it means ahdara, yuhdiru, to present. Yaruddu, Radda yaruddu means to return, give back. Bil khiyar al-aib, you know what that is. Okay, a lot of these words, you know what they are. Khasama, yukhasimu is from the word mukhasama, which also means to dispute as well. Right, so khasama, to dispute with someone, to take something to court, basically. Asqadi, al-bayyana, proof. Ahdara fasakha, to void. Mashhad means in the presence. Presence. يقضي يجعل أهدى على وإذا ترك الشفيع إشهاد, and we've done this word before. Alright, so a lot of these words we have covered them previously, so I don't want to keep repeating these. بطل الشفعة, بطل means to become void. مجلس, against the sitting, gathering. متعاقدين, the two contracting people. عقار is property, estate. Okay, so estate. In صالحة, it means to do out of court settlement. على إوض means exchangeable item. Alright, so مشتري تسقط شفيق قبل يقضي شفعة بطلت. وكيل is someone who is your representative or agent. كذا ضمن it means to compensate. Yeah, so compensate. Dark, it means something to make up. Yeah, so something that's lost, damages. Alright, now we're going to explain this text now. So let's have a go at trying to explain this. Actually, no, I almost forgot there, guys. Your favorite part, Tarkeeb. تجوز المنازعة is the file في الشفعة وإن لم يحضر الشفيء فاعل الثمن مفعول به إلى مجلس القاضي مضاف إليه قضى القاضي له بالشفعة لازمه إحضار الثمن. وللشفيء جار مجرور أن يرد الدار بخيار العيب والرؤية. فإن أحضر الشفيء في الفاعل البائع okay, 1 second. Okay, so البائع مفعول به والمبيع في, supposed to be في there. في يده جار مجرور. فله أن يخاصم مخاصمة في الشفعة ولا يسمع القاضي البينة مفعول به فاعل حتى يحضر أو يحضر المشتري فيفسخ البيع مفعول به بمشهد منه ويقضي بالشفعة على البائع ويجعل الأهدة فعل فاعل مفعول به عليه. وإذا ترك الشفيء الإشهاد مفعول به حين علم مضاف علم فعل وهو يقدر على ذلك بطلت. Okay, بطلت شفعته كذلك إن أشهد في المجلس ولم يشهد على أحد المتعاقدين مضاف إليه ولا عند العقار مضاف إليه. وإن صالح فاعل من شفعته على عوض أخذه بطلت فعل شفعة فاعل ويرد العوض. وإذا مات الشفيع بطلت شفعته وإن مات المشتري لم تسقط. وإن باع الشفيع ما يشفع به قبل أن يقضي له بالشفعة بطلت شفعته ووكيل البائع إذا باع وكان هو الشفيع. Okay, so this is the ism. فلا شفعة اسم of لا نفي الجنس إن ضمن فعل درك إذا مفعول به عن البائع وإن ضمن الدرك عن البائع الشفيع. That's the ووكيل المشتري إذا ابتاع فله الشفعة. Okay, so this is the خبر or the مبتدأ مؤخر. Alright, so that's basically this. Now let's have a look at this masala then. So what is it saying over here? So what it's saying basically is, remember we're talking about shuf'a over here. Yeah, so we're dealing with this guy selling his house. Yeah, the guy is selling his house, and how do we deal with this particular masala? So let's say, for example, there is this house for sale, and the next door neighbor has claimed that this house has been sold without consenting him. So we're going to call this guy Zaid, right? This is the Shafi. We're going to call him Zaid. Zaid's a bit angry and he's saying, well, you know, my neighbor, he's gone and sold his house. So this is the seller. And he's gone and sold it to, let's say, this guy over here, and we'll name him buyer. All right, so he's saying, Zaid is saying that he sold. So remember we said last time there has to be the two things that he has to do. He has to do the ishhad, number one. He has to give witness that he wants it. And then number two, he has to go to the property or the person and he has to give witness over there. So these are two types of witnessings that we said has to be done. Right. So now after he's done all of this, what Zaid does is Zaid will now go to the judge. All right. So the judge, let's go, this is Mr. Judge Sab. And Zaid will now say to the judge, I think the buyer has purchased the property and I want to take the case further. So remember last week we talked about the things that he has to do. After all of that's done, does Zaid need to bring the money? So let's say this house was sold for, let's say 100,000. It was sold for 100,000 pounds, let's say. 100,000 pounds. Does Zaid have to bring the cash to buy the property to court? So when he wins the case, does he have to? So no, right? So the money is not needed yet. The money is needed after he's won the case. So for example, let's say this is where he wins the case, right? Officially, legally, he's won the case. So prior to this, he does not need to have the money, right? So the money does not need to be there. Rather, the money has to be after he wins the case, then he will have to bring the money. Make sense? So, okay. تجوز المنازعة. So dispute is permissible في الشفعة for this Zaid in regards to شفعة. وإن لم يحضر الشفيع الثمن. Even if the shafi doesn't bring the price. إلى مجلس القاضي, to the gathering of the qadi, in other words, the courthouse. وإذا قضى القاضي له, when the qadi has given ruling in favor of him, meaning he wins the case, بالشفعة, with شفعة, لزمه إحضار الثمن. Now he has to bring the thaman. Okay, so now he has got to bring the thaman, and that's where he now becomes the official owner of the property. Okay, now one of the things is if he was to take the house, so let's say he has taken the house, then he has the right of, as you know, as a normal trade, every person that buys something, they have the right of khiyar aib and the khiyar ru'ya. Right, so remember we talked about aib and ru'ya. Right, so if there's a fault in there, he can give it back. If he hasn't seen the property, so he knows what it's like, but he hasn't seen it properly, so then he has these two rights, and with these two rights he can actually give back the property and get a full refund. Right, so this is after he's won the case. He still has the right to khiyar al-aib and khiyar al-ru'ya. Okay, so let's look at this then. So he says, Walish Shafi, the Shafi, meaning this guy over here, Zaid, he has the right an yarud ad-dar, to give back the property bi khiyar al-aib wa ru'yati, right, through khiyar aib and through khiyar ru'ya, after the Qadi has given the case in favor of him. Okay, now that's one part of the masla that's been clarified. Now another part of this masla now. Alright, so what's happening over here? Okay, so the Shafi, let's say Zayd, let's draw him again. Let me just quickly draw him. Zayd, if he goes to the judge, he has to bring the seller. If the seller has the property, the keys in his possession, he's got to bring the seller to court when he wants to, make this case against him. Right, so he's got to bring the seller, has to be brought to court. So this is why he says, فَإِنْ أَحْضَرَ الشَّفِيءُ الْبَايِعِ, if the Shafi, Zayd, he brings the buy to court, وَالْمَبِيءُ فِي يَدِهِ, whilst the mabi is in the hand of the seller, فَلَهُ, then the Shafi, Zayd, he has the right to yukhasimahu, to dispute the case with him, fi shuf'ati, to raise the case to the courts, khasama yukhasimu, in regards to the shuf'a. Now, the judge, he will not listen to the proof until the buyer, so let's draw the buyer here, until the buyer has been brought to the court as well. So the buyer has to be in court. So the judge will not give a ruling in the absence of the defendant. Alright, so وَلَا يَسْمَعْ الْقَاضِي, the Qadi will not listen to any proof حَتَّى يَحْضُرْ الْمُشْتَرِي, until the mushtari is present. فَيَفْسَخُ الْبَيْءَ بِمَشْهَدٍ مِّنْهُ, and therefore the Qadi will now nullify the contract in the presence of the mushtari, because he is the defendant technically. So that's why the judge cannot pass a judgment and break the contract without the presence of this. Alright, so this is, so the وَيَقْضِي, and the Qadi will pass a judgment بِالشُّفَةِ عَلَى الْبَايِعِ, onto the seller, or against the seller rather. Ala here translates as against the seller. So the Zayd wins the case. وَيَجْعَلْ الْأُهْدَى, and the responsibility will be placed upon him, right, upon the seller. In other words, the uhda, the responsibility of now the keys being handed over, he'll say, this is your responsibility, make sure that the house and everything is transferred to Zayd. Okay, so that's basically what's going to happen in the courts. Now, when does shufa actually drop now? So here are some scenarios where shufa actually drops. Okay, so let's have a look at some scenarios of this. These are scenarios where shufa is considered to be dropped. Okay, so I'm going to write down over here, shufa is cancelled or void. Shufa is made void under the following scenarios. Number one, if the Shafi, if Zayd, the Shafi, he does not do ishhad. Remember those two ishhads that we mentioned above? Yeah, so when he first finds out, so this one, if he doesn't do this, or if he doesn't do this one. So the Shafi doesn't do ishhad. Okay, so Shafi doesn't do ishhad, this is what's going to happen. So he says, وَإِذَا تَرَكَ الشَّفِيءُ الْإِشْهَادِ, when the Shafi leaves out ishhad. هِينَ alima, when he realizes, this is the first ishhad, when he realizes that the house has been sold, وَهُوَ يَقْدِرْ عَلَى ذَلِكَ, whilst being capable of doing ishhad, but he just leaves it, procrastinates. بَطَلَتْ شُفْعَتُهُ, his shuf'a will now become void. Okay. وَكَذَلِكَ, and likewise, in أَشْهَدَ فِي الْمَجْلِسِ, he does the ishhad in the majlis, meaning he does the ishhad when he first hears the news and he's telling people that he wants to get the property. But he doesn't do ishhad at the property itself, in the second ishhad that we said. وَلَمْ يُشْهِدْ عَلَى أَحَدِ الْمُتَعَاقِدَيْنِ, he doesn't do ishhad in the presence of one of the two sellers, or وَلَا إِنْدَ الْأَقَارِ, nor in the aqar, in the property. Right, so again, this is another thing that will void the contract. So let's write this down then. So number two is Shafi doesn't do second ishhad. Alright, so he leaves at the second ishhad. So remember, both ishhads have to be done in order for it to go to court, and he's left that out. Number three is if the Shafi, he does what we call a sulh, in other words, an out-of-court settlement to settle all of this. Right, so for example, like, let's say, let's go back over here. So let's say, for instance, the Shafi, he says, you know what, just sell me your car, sell me your car and I'll drop the case. Yeah. Sell me your car and I'll drop the case. Right? So they've kind of like agreed to something outside of court for him to drop the case. So if that is the case, then the shuf'a will drop. Yeah. So he settles the case, yeah, out of court. So if he settles the case out of court, so either in salaha min shuf'atihi, so the shafi, he does sulh on his from his shuf'a, ala iwadin, on an item, and I gave an example of a car, akhadahu, which he has taken, batalat shuf'atuhu, his shuf'a will become void. Now, is this allowed for him? This is bribery, isn't it? If you think about it, on what right is he taking this? On what grounds is he actually taking this car? On what grounds? Yeah, it's like saying to someone, "Give me £100 and I won't interfere with your sale." Right? That's bribery, because there is no right for him to take that money. So in Islam, if someone takes money from someone and there is no right for them to take that money, then this is considered to be prohibited. Right? So this is basically bribery, and that's why he says that he has to give back the item. Right? So he's got to give back the item. So he says, وَيَرُدُّ الْإِوَذْ, and the item has to be given back. So this is the third scenario where shuf'a, it ends. The fourth scenario, death of the shafi. Shafi dies. Right, so if the shafi dies, khalas, finished. وَإِنْ مَاتَ الشَّفِي بَطَلَ شُفْعَتُهُ, because the whole case was revolving around him. Now, because he's no longer involved in the case anymore, then that means that the case is over, because no one's fighting it. Right? So it doesn't transfer to his heirs or anything like that. Okay, what if the mushtari was to die? Right? What if the buyer, he was to die? So he says, وَإِنْ مَاتَ الْمُشْتَرِي لَمْ تَسْقُطْ. If the mushtari dies, it doesn't drop, because remember, when the mushtari dies, what happens technically is the property will actually go to his heirs. Yeah, so this guy, if he's got, let's say, a son or a daughter or whoever, that property has now transferred to them. So now they are now the defendants of this case. Yeah. So by the death of the buyer, the case does not drop. Yeah, straightforward. All right. Next. Now this is a bit of a technical issue, right? So what I'm going to do is let me draw this over here. Then we'll come back to this, because I think it's good to have lists of what do you guys think. By the way, guys, if you enjoy my videos and you like them, please hit the like button, subscribe button. If you want to become a patron and support my channel on a monthly basis, or you know someone out there who would really like to donate towards the projects that I do, then please consider becoming a patron, or one-off donations you can make. Details are in the description below where you can make them. And if you want to contact me, email me, feel free to do so, inshallah. Much appreciated. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, this is the property. All right, this is the property of the shafi. Actually, you know what? Let me just use the previous one, just because it's all consistent. So this is what basically happens. So Zaid, let's say he is obviously the shafi, right? And he is claiming for this property. Now, what he's ended up doing is he actually sold his own house to someone else whilst the court case is taking place. Right? So let's say, for example, this is the court case. This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Court case is actually initiated on Monday. He was supposed to win the case on Friday. That's when he was supposed to win. Right? That's when he was going to win it on Friday. But what he's done is, before this, any time here, he has gone and sold the property. Yeah, he sold his own property to some random guy. Now, because he sold his own property, that means he's lost the thing by which he's seeking shuf'a. Because you have to be a neighbor, isn't it? So he's lost that. That's why it's saying over here that in ba'a shafi'u ma yashfa'u bihi. If the shafi, he sells that thing by which he's claiming shuf'a, qabla an yaqdiya, prior to passing the ruling. So this is the time passing the ruling. Lahu bi shuf'ati batalat shuf'atuhu. His shuf'a has now become cancelled. Why is it become cancelled? Simply because he ended up doing this. You know, he wasn't supposed to be selling his own property. So we can add that to the list. Let's make it the... I've actually taken up all the space that I've got now. Subhanallah. Alright, so let's have a look at this then. So number 5. Okay, number 5. This is if the Shafi sells his property. Alright, so if he sells his property, he's lost the shufa. That's number 5. Number 6. Okay, number 6. Okay, this is the last one now. So this one, let me try to see if I can squeeze this in over here. Right, so Shafi is basically acting as an agent to sell off. So he's now an agent on behalf of the seller, and he's going to sell the house to a buyer. Right, so the seller has asked Shafi, because he's got a estate agent, and he said to him, can you sell my house for me? And he goes, yeah, of course, I'll sell it for you. So if he becomes the wakil, the agent on behalf of the seller to sell his house, he loses his right of shufa, because by him becoming the seller, it's like he's happy to sell it to the other individual. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you look at this, then he says, وَوَكِيلُ الْبَائِعِ إِذَا بَاعَ, when the wakil of the ba'i, so Zayd is the wakil of his job is estate retail, selling. وَكِيلُ الْبَائِعِ إِذَا بَاعَ, when he sells the property, وَكَانَ هُوَ الشَّفِي, whilst he is the shafi, فَلَا شُفْعَةَ لَهُ. Yeah. So there's considered to be no shuf'a for him. Right, so we can add that in the list. Right, that's number, what is it? Number 7. Number 6. Oh, actually, we got 2 more left. That means I thought this would. So this is if the shafi is the seller's agent, selling agent. Yeah, that he loses his right of shufa. Number 7 is a bit of an interesting one. Yeah, so basically this is a scenario where, let's say, let me see if I can squeeze this into another scenario now. Let's see, make dua, guys. So this guy, basically, seller is selling this house to the buyer for 100k, and this Zayd is like the guarantor. He's kind of guaranteeing to the buyer. He's saying, look, if something happens, he's saying to the seller, if something happens, if this trade doesn't go through, if it's found out to be a fraud or anything like that, I will pay. I will sort out all your fees. Yeah, so sometimes it happens, you go to buy a car, you're unsure, and then your friend says, you know what, don't worry about it. Buy the car. If anything turns out to be wrong in it, I'll take care of it. This is called daman ad-dark. Daman ad-dark. Right, so in this case, daman ad-dark case, he says, وَكَذَلِكَ, likewise, in damina, if the Zayd, the shafi, was to guarantee dark, as in to make up something that's lost, anil ba'i, on behalf of the ba'i, as shafi'u does, he also drops the shufa. Right, khalas. So these are 7 reasons for why the shufa gets cancelled out. Right, so 7 reasons for why the shufa gets cancelled out. Look at this, subhanallah. Isn't fiqh so nice? It just makes you think so much. Like, wow, I never ever thought of that. Right, so the shafi does daman dark. Yeah, daman dark he does. These are 7 reasons for why shufa becomes void. And the last point he just wants to say, wakilush mushtari idha ibta'a falahu shufa. If the shafi was to be the agent of the buyer, the other way around, right? So he was basically, let's say, the agent of the buyer, then the case still goes through. The shufa does not get void, because that guy is basically, he's trying to, the shafi is thinking, if that guy buys the property and I help him buy it, I will get the right of shufa, and the seller will have to sell it to me. So it's a kind of like, you can almost say it's a like of strategy to get the house. Does that make sense? So if he's the wakil of the ba'i, he loses his shufa, because he's clearly told the ba'i that he doesn't want it by becoming his wakil to sell the property. But if he becomes the wakil of the mushtari, then it's okay. Khalas. Khalas. MashaAllah. Alright, so guys, you ready? Ready for some nice quick fire questions? Okay, alright, so let's have a go at this then. So the question for you guys, if a Shafi wants to take the matter to court, does he have to take his credit card with him? Does he have to take the money with him to buy the property? Answer, no, he doesn't. Right? He does not have to take it. Okay, question for you, when does he have to take the money? So he takes the money when he wins the case. Once he wins the case, then he takes the money. Okay, next question. If the Shafi was to win the case and get the property, is there any way that he could cancel this or give back the property? Yes, two ways. What are they? Through khiyar al-aib and through khiyar ru'ya. Okay, these are two ways. Okay, next question. If the Shafi takes the buy to court, he takes the buy to court and the mabi is in his hands, is he allowed to carry on with the case? Yes, he is. However, the judge will not listen to the case until the mushtari is also there as well, so he can give a ruling against him. Okay, next one. When does the shuf'a get void? So there's 7 scenarios when the shuf'a gets void. Tell me what the 7 are. Number 1 is when the Shafi does not do the first ishad. Number 2 is when the Shafi does not do the second ishad. Number 3 is when he settles the case out of court. Number 4 is if the Shafi dies. Number 5 is if the Shafi sells his own property by which he's asking for shuf'a. Number 6 is if the Shafi becomes the agent of the seller. And number 7, if the Shafi guarantees dark. If anything happens to the item, he'll sort it all out. Khalas, that's it guys. That is today's lesson, summarization. I would love it if someone could summarize my notes for me and send it to me, honestly. I was actually thinking about this. If someone out there is going through these videos and just summarize the notes for me about the explanation, that would be excellent. It would be an excellent resource for future students for like a commentary of Qudoori as well. Inshallah, I'm sure out there one of you guys will get the sadaqah jariyah for this, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you for watching my video, guys. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting my channel. You are beautiful, wonderful people. May Allah bless you immensely and save you from hardships and difficulties and give your family, loved ones a good place in this dunya and the akhirah. And if anyone wants to become a patron, you want to support my channel, please check out the description. Contact me if you like. You can speak to me about it as well. And that's it, guys. I will see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.